So you just watched that official welcome ceremony. From there, President Donald Trump walking inside of the presidential palace there in Saudi Arabia. Right now, you are getting a live look inside. Unfortunately, we don't have audio, as some of the remarks could be top secret and highly sensitive. But a lot to discuss. We do know that President Donald Trump, with his Middle East tour, he will also visit Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, though his most pressing regional challenges concern two other countries, which, of course, you guessed it, Israel and Iran. A lot to discuss, so we want to bring into the conversation none other than Executive Director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, Dr. Asaf Ramarwasky. Dr. Asaf, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure to have you. So as we can see, President Donald Trump not wasting any time, leaving the tarmac, heading directly to the royal court for that ceremony now inside of the presidential palace. Set the stage for us. This visit highly important. Of course, it comes on the heels of that American-Israeli hostage released yesterday in Gaza.
Indeed. So there's a lot to unpack here. I mean, so to your first point, again, yesterday, in a deal that was brokered predominantly by the United States, Eden Alexander, the last living Israeli American, was freed as after being in captivity for over 19 months. Clearly, the individual, Eden, was tortured physically, mentally, and it was a great feat to actually see him alive and come back. And what you did see, notably, there was no any kind of theatrics or that we've seen have been, accustomed to see when Hamas has been doing these kind of releases. That being said, this was entirely mostly brokered by the United States. That has caused a little bit of friction between Israel and the United States as a result of the fact that it was the U.S., Adam Boehler, Steve Witkoff, and others who negotiated directly through interlocutors with Hamas to make this happen on the heel of Trump's visit to the region itself. It's most notably to make the connection, of course, that Trump, as you said, will be in Qatar. Qatar is a very challenging element to this entire trip to begin with. The Qataris, is worthy of reminding everybody and your viewers that, of course, have been one of the largest patrons of Hamas. Hamas leadership was found safe harbor in Doha, and Hamas has been funded directly by the Qataris. While at the same time, Qatar has been involved in all of these games of releasing the hostages and playing the brokerage game here, while at the same time they're the largest financiers of terrorism. So there's a fundamental question of what is the quid pro quo here. And one other element that is still unclear to me yet is that there are suggestions, rumors that Eden Alexander will fly to Doha to that meeting with President Trump and the Emir of Qatar, and also come to thank President Trump directly there. But with this kind of geoflecting also for the Qataris, not a good look, and especially it's challenging for the Israelis who are trying to win still the war with Gaza at the same time, and of course deal with all the funders who made 10/7 take place. Qatar represents a very large challenge, and they were out of the picture. Excuse me, they were out of the picture when it came to these conversations. They're happy about it because, again, the fact that he's alive and he's, was released, but this is not the end of the war. They made no guarantees. Again, what you did see is a reduction of any kind of military activities, not to disrupt any of the release of Eden Alexander yesterday, but this was not part of any of the conversations that Israel was a part of. It is considered to be, and this is what, the potential conversation that could go forward, part of what the Israelis call the Witkoff parameters as far as potential further negotiations. But we don't know that yet.
Dr. Asaf, again, giving you and the viewers a live look inside of the presidential palace. You see on your screen President Donald Trump alongside Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Let's get deeper into the significance and the meaning of this trip. You did hit on the fact of the American-Israeli release and what that means for not only Israel, but also the Trump administration. Hamas releasing a statement saying they did this, for lack of better words, in good faith for President Donald Trump. What does President Donald Trump mean to the Middle East? Also, what would you say is his pull in the area? A lot of Israelis credit President Donald Trump for what they say is how far they've gotten in the ceasefire agreement and in the conflict with those in Gaza.
Well, 100% is worthy of note that none of these latest releases that we've seen, these latest phases of releases of hostages, would have not have happened without Donald Trump being in office. Every one of the released hostages over the past few months has admitted that and made it clear that Trump was clearly a catalyst for Hamas. The unknown, I would say, given the fact that he's an untraditional politician, was something that put Hamas on notice, the fact that they need to change the way business has been done. And so they have been willing to negotiate and play ball. And that has, of course, been very positive in the fact that they've been able to release. Look, every U.S. president understands the value of U.S. Middle East relations. We're now in Saudi Arabia. The president is now in Saudi Arabia. Saudi is a critical ally, has been a traditional, long-standing ally of the United States. The geopolitics involved, the financial issues that are involved here as far as oil. This has been a long-standing relationship, not to mention the larger regional instability. And you alluded to this in your earlier comments, is the fact that the largest destabilizing factor in the region is the Islamic Republic of Iran. Saudi Arabia being literally the guardian of Mecca, the Iranians represent a direct threat on them as well. So the fact that the president is now in the region, making direct ties and making direct impressions correctly with the Saudis, with the Crown Prince about where they are when it comes to regional stability and dealing with Iran. Again, these are Sunni countries where we have these stronger alliances. And again, the other part of this also relates to the fact that one of the other actors, players in this larger conflict have been the Houthis. The Houthis have also been, when it comes to the border with Yemen, are also part of Saudi's war on terror as well. And so there is a connection here as far as making sure that the United States and Saudi Arabia stand together and working together to try to deal with the regional stability. The other feature in all of this was also relates to where Israel was hoping to move along and to expand what happened during the first Trump administration, that is the Abraham Accord talks, that Saudi Arabia would join that group of countries and Israel would also have more normalized ties with the Saudis. We're not there yet. Obviously, Israel is not part of these conversations. I'm sure that the war in Gaza obviously is a critical and a centerpiece part of the conversation that will be taking place now with the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia, and this will potentially come up. The president did make comments that there's going to be a significant announcement. Obviously, a significant announcement related to the release of Ed Alexander is a critical, not to minimize that, but there also potentially could be any kind of moves regarding Israel, Saudi, U.S. relations as well. But these are part of the unknowns, but indeed part of the conversation. And I think that Donald Trump wants to make clear that when it comes to U.S. interests in the region, all on the heels of the conversation with the tariffs and import-export when it comes to oil, these are the kind of things that Trump wants to make it clear where American interests lie. And that's exactly part of the symbolism that is playing into his current visit to the region.
Dr. Assaf, thank you so much for that detailed breakdown. As this conversation is ongoing, we have this quote, courtesy of X, from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the U.S. It says, quote, we are thrilled to welcome President Trump for a visit that marks another milestone in our strategic partnership together. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the U.S. stand as a force for good, advancing peace, security, and prosperity across the world. That further adds to what you were just saying, Dr. Assaf. But aside from this, we're also keeping a close eye on Iran. What pull do you think President Donald Trump can have on Iran with this Middle East tour, especially with the relationship they have with Saudi Arabia?
So Iran is obviously going to be a center, another key item on the agenda here. Like I said, the Iranians represent, as far as Iranian ambitions, as far as to the region at large, represent a direct threat to the Saudis because Iran is Shia. The Saudis are, of course, Sunni. We're talking about, and of course, the Saudis and Mecca located in Saudi Arabia, theologically, religiously speaking. This is the center of the Muslim world. The Saudis are very they're looking very closely at all of these moves. I don't think that the Saudis trust any other country to protect their own security needs. They also have made comments and talks about potentially having their own nuclear capabilities as a result of what Iran is trying to do to try to destabilize the region from that perspective. There have been non-official talks between the Israelis and the Saudis when it comes to Iran. We did see support when Iran attacked Israel back in April of last year. The Saudis were also helpful in that regard. So everybody knows the danger, the great danger that the Islamic Republic of Iran represents. So when you're talking about looking at the threats in the region and what the red lines are, and now on the heels of some of the talks that we saw took place in Oman and in Rome with the United States and Iran, there's also a question of, again, what kind of support can the United States get from the Saudis? I think that the Saudis will traditionally have sided and will continue to do so with the United States if the president can create a coalition, a la what we saw with the Abraham Accords, and trying to create a force to deal with the Iranians. Obviously, very positive. That would be very helpful to the Israelis. But again, Israel is not part of these conversations. From the president's vantage point, these are American interests looking at the economics of all this, as well as the security elements. That's not to say that whatever comes out of these conversations, the president is not going to go back to the Israelis and say, "Look, I have a deal on the table. I got potential to move this along." However, and this is the big question, what about ending the war? And that's part of the looming issue that's been overshadowing a lot of these conversations between the Israelis and the United States, as far as what does the end of the war look like, and what does the day after tomorrow look like when it comes to Gaza, and would a potential partner like the Saudis potentially invest in Gaza and in the fate of whatever takes place when it comes to Israeli-Palestinian relations. These are all part of the unknowns, but will be part of the agenda items that will be part of the conversation.
Dr. Assaf, thank you so much for that detailed breakdown, your expertise and perspective. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, as always. Have a great day.
Thank you. And as we further discuss, the delegation and those in attendance, want to give you this look courtesy of X as Elon Musk greets President Donald Trump and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman inside of the Saudi royal court on this Tuesday morning. Taking you back, though, inside to give you a live look. Again, there is no audio on this feed, but we do know that for the very latest, we will continue to give you these live looks as we continue to break down President Donald Trump's Middle East trip there in Saudi Arabia.